Hello folks, today I decided to make one of these hats from this McCall's pattern. Both look equally silly. I decided on this one, but I wanted to make the strap a bit longer because I kind of wanted to tie it up at the front in a bow or a knot rather than the buckle setup that they recommend. So I'm just marking it on the pattern after marking it on the mock-up here and cutting it out of the waterproof fabric. The reason I decided on a whim to make this is that I thought in the summer I don't really want to wear my coat with a hood if it rains, but my head gets wet. I'm not going to have an umbrella because I don't want one, and I could make a very silly rain hat instead. So I decided to do that. Just marking the pieces. This is a vintage fabric. The seller said it was from the 60s. I'm inclined to believe them. It's got that feel of the waterproof fabric. I can't really explain it any more than that. It's just a gut feeling. Also the pattern was very creased when it came to me, but it's hard to iron it, so I just dealt with it. I don't really want to melt it all. It was on the pricier side as fabric goes, but I thought it was too cool to pass up. Also, does anyone else feel like they see dead stock or vintage stuff? Sometimes it's just like looking at a puppy in a shelter and you're like, I can't leave them. What if they don't get picked up by anyone else? The lining fabric and the strap fabric I decided to cut out of this also vintage fabric that used to be a bed sheet. And these are just remnants of the border that I'd already unpicked. So marking the strap shape at the end and then the extension that I'd already worked out on the mock-up, and then matching it up with the rest of the strap section. The original pattern has the head part of the bonnet and the strap as one continuous piece, as you can see in the pattern piece right here, but I decided to separate them partly for this extension reason and partly because I sort of thought that having the strap be that waterproof, quite stiff fabric would feel a bit weird on my chin or on my neck. So I thought this would be a bit more comfortable, and I think I was right. Also, just to kind of showcase the mix of fabrics, which I quite like. Don't cut your paper pattern pieces, trace them instead or mark them onto the fabric without cutting the other sizes. I'm part of that camp, that group. And so I'm using the pieces I've already cut out as a guideline here for the lining pieces just to save myself a bit of time. Are you in the team of cutting out your pattern pieces completely or not. If it's one I've printed out, that I have no problem with that. But these tissue paper ones, I don't really trust myself to cut it well, for one thing. I'm a fabric cutter, not a paper cutter. And also, I don't know, what if my head changes shape? What if I want to make this for someone else? I'd feel so frustrated if I had the pattern, but I had to work out what the bigger size was like by myself. Anyway, so now I'm just sewing the bonnet pieces together. I'm going to call it a bonnet from now. I think it's technically sort of an aviator hat is the idea, but I went definitely for bonnet here. Rain hat bonnet thing. Anyway, sewing together these curved pieces. There's quite a lot of curved pieces, so I used a lot of cutting into the curves, so giving them little slits alongside, adjacent to the curve, and it really helps ease the fabric, especially if the fabric's quite unforgiving like this waterproof fabric is. Ease it around the shapes. Definitely recommend that. You'll see me employ it quite a lot throughout the process of making this hat. Just cutting out some interfacing for the visor. Another thing I'm using is clips instead of pins on the fabric, because it won't mark it in the same way. If you pin this fabric, the hole won't close up as it would on a traditional woven or knitted fabric. Once again, cutting into the curves before I turn them right side up. Some dice here on the table. In our household, most flat surfaces have got at least a dice bag sitting there, because we play quite a lot of Dungeons and Dragons. I am playing a cleric in one and a monk in another. I like them both for different reasons. Anyway, here I am, once again clipping. I don't have fancy fabric like clips, you know, from a haberdashery or something. These are just little bulldog clips. I mean, they're cute, but they're not, you know, specialist or anything. Sometimes just use what you have on hand, you know. It's much more sustainable anyway if you have something that works, to use that rather than buy something new. See my sewing twitches in my face. Just like God intended. So here I made a bit of a mistake. The fabric kind of bunched up a bit and it wasn't lying smooth, so I cut it out and do it again. I just like to keep it in because it's important to know that like mistakes are going to happen, but it's about how you respond to them that matters. And I guess here the way I responded to the mistake was just calmly redo it, calmly undo it, fix it, do it again. I'm not trying to get too philosophical, but yeah, I don't know, just perfection is a myth. Just really checking it for if it's okay. And that'll do. Right, so do the same for the lining, make up the bonnet, attach these straps, etc., etc. Once again, I'm cutting into the curves. I found this making the mock-up that I really needed to do it quite a lot more than I would in other projects. I think there's something about the three-dimensionality of the hat itself that just really needed like careful easing around the corners. My head Polly watching over here. She's facing the wall because she knows what she did. She's just reflecting on it, thinking about it. I think we've moved past it, but I won't let her forget it. So putting the lining together with the outer fabric, and what I'm doing here is making a mess, but also I'm going to use the bulldog clips for the sections that have lining and the outer fabric. And then once I get to sections which are both this yellow lining fabric, so the straps mainly, I switch. Here we go, switched to using pins. I only had a certain number of clips, so it makes sense to me. Back to the bulldog clips, boop. Pop the visor inside. That was so cute. I really like that. And then finger press that seam open, so you know you sew over it correctly without creating any unnecessary bulk. And back again to the pins. So I'm going to sew all the way around. I've left an opening in the middle section of the lining fabric, and that'll be where I'm going to be turning the entire hat right side out. So all the outside will be completely enclosed. And then once I turn it the right way out, there'll just be this gap in the lining, sort of on my head, I guess, that I sew shut. And that kind of makes it the most invisible that it can be while using this technique. Doing these straight bits was, you know, very simple, very easy. The curved bits were where I found it more challenging and sometimes had to go kind of slowly and stuff. Just making sure I've got the right distance before I turn that corner. You want a nice sharp corner once you've turned it inside out, so I'm trying to get that right. Some people might wonder why I'm making something that looks kind of silly. I don't know why you would wonder that. But I think I wondered it a little bit in times, you know, like, is this stupid? Am I wasting my time? But when you have the opportunity to create whatever you want, really, out of fabric, why wouldn't you create some stuff that's silly? We've all survived every single day of our life so far, right? I mean, well done us. Do we not deserve a little silly if it doesn't hurt anyone? I'm so proud of us. Well done. I'm getting very sentimental. It's because I haven't eaten yet today. We're going to have vegan fish and chips later, and I cannot stop thinking about it. Honestly, it's like it's way too early to order it yet. I want to order it now. And that's making me very poetic, all the suffering, but also the joy of the future, the chips it will bring. Right, so yeah, just sewing round, being careful on the bits where it gets quite thick, that I'm sewing through all the layers, things aren't shifting. Yeah, so here I was just sort of feeling to see if I could feel any like bunches or creases, inadvertent pleats I might have created. It felt all right. Again, clipping round, turning it out. I want it to be nice and crisp and flat, so around the corners and the curves especially, just trying to clip in once again. And now you get to see the sped up and shortened version, but turning this inside out was horrible. I hated it. I hated every single minute of it. I doubted myself, I doubted my abilities, I doubted why I was even sitting here doing this, It was awful. I hated it. I hate turning stuff out though. Like it's so much. I mean, look at this. Ugh, it's so much work. And this isn't even to get into the straps, which took forever. Like honestly, I think I had to leave it and come back to it. Calm down, come back with a renewed sense of vigor. It was so boring. I can see why these straps aren't longer in the actual pattern normally. It was so hard. Sewing up the hole is the last step. I could have pressed the straps. I don't think I did. It's fine. Emma Corrin wore a bonnet on the red carpet recently. The trend is happening, people. Didn't have a visor though. If it was raining, she'd have been screwed. Look, it's so cute. It's so silly, but it keeps the rain off. I have used this. I've used it in public. It's a fun time. I'm really happy with it, honestly. It's so silly and so cute. And look at this. Oh, thanks everyone. See you on the next one. Wow, that's going to be fun to edit out.